Some breaking news. Charlie Kirk, political pundit and political grifter, has been fatally shot during one of his Turning Point USA events in a college campus in Utah. Charlie, of course, being an extremely divisive figure, as shocking as this news was, I would say when I first heard it happen, wasn't quite surprised. So I have quite a few thoughts and concerns about this entire issue, but let's dig right into it. As I'm recording and making this video, no, we do not yet have any information on the shooter, but of course that has not stopped the reactionaries from coming out of the woodworks to, of course, call for more violence. The mainstream media, without having any evidence of if this was politically motivated yet or not, is of course are already saying, wait, there's no one in custody yet? Come on everyone, quickly, let's go muddy up the waters. Because remember, the media and the government don't lie, they engage in disinformation. Even Donald Trump himself, yes, the President of the United States, has come out with a statement before getting any facts on this situation in this weird, bizarre, what looks to be AI video.
He's a martyr for truth and freedom. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis.
Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. All the kids of every conservative in the country call panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the two Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
As I think this reporter very successfully points out the hypocrisies of making this a left and right issue when we've just had a political assassination just this past July, 2 months ago.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz says that former House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband were killed. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife were shot multiple times. They are out of surgery but in serious condition. The two shooting locations were about 8 miles away from each other, and two separate shootings are said to be targeted political violence.
And despite that coverage having far less media attention than what we're having now with Charlie Kirk, the problem is with Charlie Kirk's assassination, they're able to spin a narrative that they aren't able to do here. And that narrative is essentially going to be to push more authoritarianism.
They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. Now, Charlie would want us to put as much pressure on these people as possible.
Let's take a look back at the prompt in the bottom. Shooter still loose. This rhetoric is not only dangerous, but it's also stupid.
By that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the two Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
Political.
Isn't this on both sides?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm asking
We
a
don't
serious
know what
question.
condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging leftist lunatic put a bullet through his neck, and you want to talk about Republicans right now? No.
No, I'm asking
no, not
you.
at all.
You said the Democrats
no,
have to own it
this is
too,
on.
but
The
I'm asking,
Democrats own this.
But isn't there a problem with
this.
political violence across the spectrum?
Yeah, we're talking about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
As Nancy Mace clumsily goes through this question that she cannot answer, it does have me think about other instances where we have politically driven shootings, and depending on what leaning the shooter had, sort of directs people's narratives, and where it turns out that the shooter is right-wing or has some sort of conservative manifesto. It's always crickets from the right, or rhetoric on how this was a lone wolf that staggered far from their ideology. And let's face it, Charlie was no stranger to adding fuel to the fire of our current political discourse. But I will say, trying to just go through Turning Point USA's channel and collect some stock footage for this video was a lot harder than I thought it would be.
For over 10 plus years, I identified as a gay man, and then I gave my life to Jesus and left the LGBTQ plus community.
I'm not gay no more. I am delivered. I don't like men no more. I said I like women.
My question to you is, what is your response to those who say that conservatives and God hates everyone in the LGBTQ plus community?
In Leviticus 18 is that thou shalt lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Just saying. So, Miss Rachel, you quote Leviticus 19, love your neighbor as yourself. The chapter before affirms God's perfect law when it comes to sexual matter.
Being gay is a behavior more than anything else. And you, I guess, are evidence, and I'd love to hear your story, that you could stop acting on that behavior. So tell the audience more about.
I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Of course we pandered to blacks. They're in every TV commercial.
We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. As we note in the piece, Kirk has previously described Kirk as a hero and a civil rights icon. It's true. I used to be wrong. What inspired Kirk to shift his view on MLK? Why does Kirk think that MLK is a bad guy? When Kirk says that MLK says, quote, one good thing he didn't believe, what does he mean by that? Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right? Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action?
Yeah, it was tough. Now, for the question of, will this garner any of my empathy? Well, the answer is no. I'm sorry, but I will not give you any PC pandering or some disingenuine regurgitation on what others feel they may have to say on the situation. And let me just be clear, no, I'm not condoning any kind of political violence towards anybody. And no, I'm not celebrating the death of another person that I had disagreements with. All I'm simply saying is, I'm here to give you honesty, and to be honest, I didn't get all choked up. I didn't cry any tears over hearing this news. Especially not for someone who had this to say about empathy.
Empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage.
Or for someone who had this to say about gun deaths every year.
We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. Wow. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Ironically, with Charlie's own logic, has now become one of the necessary sacrifices in order to keep our gun rights. With another twist of irony being gun violence being one of his final words. And I also would like to say, no, I'm not saying you shouldn't be empathetic towards Kirk. The same way I'm not going to ask someone to not be empathetic is for the same reasons why I myself feel I have the right not to feel empathetic. I know people who empathize and are just natural empaths. Empathize essentially to a fault. Because yes, Although I may not have feelings of empathy or mourning for Charlie Kirk, what we viewed yesterday was horrific. You have every right to feel that way. I, and many like myself on the other hand, will be viewing Charlie Kirk's legacy. Many of us won't forget who Charlie was. To many of us, Charlie Kirk was just another face of bigotry. Homophobic, misogynistic, transphobic, racist, Islamophobic, constantly pushed the demonization of immigrants in this country, as well as being one of the talking heads for the Great Replacement movement. As many are claiming now about Charlie's love for open dialogue, it's just not true. Charlie Kirk was not interested in open conversation. He was interested in low-hanging fruit, gotcha politics. At the end of the day, many of us will not forget who Charlie was. Personally, throughout his career, I found Charlie to be a very disgusting and vile human. So, although I may not agree with shooting someone that simply disagrees with you, I will not be shedding any tears for this situation. So I'll leave you all with a quote from Mark Twain. I've never wished another man dead, but have read some obituaries with great pleasure. Thanks for watching.
These woke liberal students.
Oh my God, what makes you think you have the right to say what I do with my body?
Let me ask you something. If a pregnant woman is killed and the baby dies too, why is the killer charged with a double homicide?
Well, but because people have different beliefs.
It's not about belief, it's about truth. Science confirms life begins at conception.